People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in, and good evening wherever you are. I was on Twitter and you lot have asked me to make a podcast, and behind the scenes I always tell you I'm working, I'm trying, it's a bit foreign, I can't lie, not a waste man thing, but it's a bit shy, I'm a bit shy with it and whatnot, so I've been trying to get comfortable with it and whatnot, and I was asking you lot for topics because I've got to find a way for making it minimum 40 minutes. And I thought one of the topics was, I constantly get asked about, does Arsenal's academy pay off and is it worth it, and all of these other questions and things. And in short, the answer is yes, of course. Of course, when you look at Arsenal, my hand on my heart is, I do think there's been a couple of players that have come through Hale End, which is the focus of this vid, and players that we've scouted and whatnot from France and then Romania even, and you lot know the young players, Germany, you lot know yourselves, the young players that have been at this club and gone on to do good things and develop a bit more. And while it's not the end of the world that they've gone, you're thinking, what if, could they have been decent squad players and whatnot? We know with young players, people that don't really watch them and they hear about reputations, they see 30-second clips and they place all this unhealthy pressure on players. I personally believe it is working, because it is working. If we look at it, I mean, you heard the other day, it must have been a year or two ago, Arsenal put 40 million into refurbishments for Hale End. You look at Iwobi, who ironically came through Hale End, has he not developed into a first team player and left for 35 million in a deal that can go up to 40? That's it, paid off from one player there. Now obviously if you was to go a bit deeper, and I don't have the statistics to do it, you could obviously factor in the hours Iwobi spent training with Arsenal, the financial costs, because obviously he's travelled all up and down with the squad, and you see from youth level to now, if he was to tally up all of them costs and compare it to how much he's gone for, it would still look healthy, but I can't comprehend that. If again, I do believe Arsenal can bring through more players, and I think a lot of academies, whether you're top 6 or whatever, can bring through more young players, but the reality is, it can't always happen, people. And if you can just get through one that comes to the first team, it's a miracle. If you can get through some that can be sold on, that's your bread and butter. And that's what your academy should fundamentally be about. Players that can develop for the first team, if not, get sold on to do other things and keep the academy badge and their schooling in good works and do whatever they want to do. But not everyone can make it here and things like that, people. The reality is, the harsh reality is that making it as a footballer full stop is ridiculously tough. So shout out to any footballer that's watching this, regardless of what level you're at, much less at a top team. You look at the majority of the Arsenal under 18s and 23s, it's sad to say they're not going to make it there. Like, it's sad. A lot of them, I feel in particular the 23s, there's a lot of players that are actually there just so we have players that can play on a match day and whatnot. That's not me criticising anything. That's because I look at some individuals, I can't see how you have a snowball's chance of making it here. And I get it, why they want to stay, and I'm not criticising players, that's neither here nor there, people. But the reality is, it is paying off. Like I said, Iwobi went for how much, people? There's been plenty of other examples. We're probably going back in time and whatnot, but you obviously had the Nelsons, and Ealing's gone on, and Freeman didn't come through our academy. We bought him from somewhere, but he was there when we won the FA Youth Cup and that. He was pretty young. He's went on to do other things, and he's back in the Premier League with Sheffield. You obviously got Benny Kofobi. You've got other players here and there. I do think we can even have a bit more of that, because I don't really see... There is a lot of our players that have left the club and gone on to do good things, but I want to see players that don't make it here go on to become household names in the Championship and whatnot. There has been that, but if I look back at a club like United, for example, there's been a couple guys I've just seen pop up here and there in the Premier and the Championship. So it is what it is. I think the academy is working, people. I'm trying to focus strictly on players from, not necessarily from London, but from England and whatnot, because yes, I can say Bellerin came and he developed and stuff. He wasn't technically at Hale End, so that kind of misscrews the judgment, and that's all the scouting sort of debate and whatnot, which I feel aids into this. So it is what it is. We've obviously got Kieran Gibbs. I do believe the academy is doing its job, people. Before we talk about the obvious players, if you look at Dominic Thompson, he's been here for however many years. He's been sold on for a fee to Brentford. That can be obviously it might not be reinvested directly into Arsenal's academy, but it's still... some check still gets cashed in a positive light somewhere. So do you see what I'm saying? Obviously you've got players that can make it here, but you never know. So you look at the Ballards that's gone on loan, Medley that could potentially make it here or go on loan, Ben Shafe, who I believe once you get a taste of 23s, he needs to go out and play permanently. These players there might make profit for the club and whatnot. Did Akpom leave for free, people? Forgive me if I'm wrong, but if he didn't, he must have went for £1 or £2 million. That's still a lot of money. Think about it for an academy player. It's technically in the green. Do you get it? I would have loved Amici, for instance, to stay here, and I hope he develops into a 30, 40 plus player one day and whatnot, and it might look like pennies on the dime, but the reality is we've got £2.5 million for a player that, obviously we bought him from Fulham, I believe, but he's been at Hale End and whatnot. He's gone for £2.5 million plus a sale on before he's technically played an official game for Arsenal. So so it is working. You had obviously a Wolby, you had that. Obviously, fundamentally, we want players in our first team. So you look at the Reece Nelsons, the Emil Smith-Rowe, Tyrese John-Jules, Joel Willock, Saka, obviously Martinelli, but he's not involved in this. The Hale End players, these players, in an ideal world, I want them all to make it at this club. But if they don't, if one or two slip, they can be sold on for profit and whatnot. Obviously, you've got Maitland-Niles in the squad as well, because he might want to leave to stop playing right back and whatnot. You heard Iwobi left, a primary reason for Iwobi leaving because he wanted to play the sort of 10 role. Obviously, that's all internet gossip, but it gives you things to think about. Again, we bought Eddie Nketiah. Well, he was released from Chelsea, similar to Madley, but he's come, again, I don't even know if he was playing at Hale End, people, honestly, but he might have. Let's just assume he was. He can be sold for a 10 plus mil. I feel someone like Balogun, if he makes progress in the 23s football and there's not necessarily a pathway here next summer, his agents or somewhere, he could potentially look to depart and whatnot with the whole culture of young players departing. You'd like to think that's a similar fee to Amici if that was the case. I'm not saying that's the case. You get what I'm saying. That's another £2.5 million. So the academy is working, people. For me, the one pet peeve I want to see is a good defensive homegrown prospect come through this academy. Personally, I've got high hopes for Mon Louise. He's in the under-16s. He's been playing for the 18s now, just because I think that let's say leave the guy to develop. I'm not saying he's going to do this and that and the other. Let's leave him to develop, but I really like what I see from him, and I think he'll develop to have a decent career. We see a lot of good attacking players come through our academy, people, and I'd like to see that continue, of course. Now, I'm not watching these following individuals week in, week out like some of these other youth dons might claim, but you've obviously got Zach in the under-16, Zach Awe, I believe that's his name. I cannot pronounce his last name until I hear him say it, but I believe he's been capped by England's under-16s. You've got Malcolm Eboe as well, that's played for England and Holland and all of them sort of things. You've got Kion Edwards, you've got Flores, you've obviously got who signed for Ipswich, you've got Pantino, formerly of Luton, you've got Amari Hutchison, you've got Moro, who I cannot remember his last name. So there are some good little prospects in the under-16s and whatnot. Edu's son, you see what I'm saying? Edu's son as well. Potential is just potential. It's sad, but all of the players in the under-18s and 23s and 16s, and actually here we've got some good under-14s, but I've never seen them play. They're not going to make it here. That's not big. Arsenal, we want all of these. I'm sure every club wants 11 homegrown players, but it's the belly of the beast. It's impossible. You've got to be the best of the best. And even when you're at the best of the best, there's many variables that stop you from making it at clubs. You might make it somewhere else, but you won't make it here. You might not have been ready. The move the chance might have come too soon. You're getting chances, or one manager likes you, the manager first team gets sacked, and then and then the next manager don't really care for you. These sort of things, they're happening in football, people. In short, I believe the academy is working. It clearly is working. We've gotten the commitment of first and foremost trying to bring one every 2 seasons a homegrown prospect. We've obviously had Iwobi 1 year. Wilshere's probably the flag boy for homegrown, but we've had Iwobi 1 year. Obviously Maitland-Niles has come in. Joel Willock as well is coming into the fray. Nelson on the back of that as well. Saka, it looks like a case of when, not if. Emil as well, potentially going to go out on loan. Again, I want all of these players first and foremost to make it, but if they don't, there's some good profits there. Tyrese John-Jules, I badly want Tyrese to make it at this club in some capacity, man. I really like him as a footballer, and you saw what he did in pre-season. I would love Eddie to do the same. I want Joe to keep developing, but if these lot slip by the wayside or it doesn't happen, profits can be made. We've made a commitment of blooding in these players, and clearly it's working, because maybe we might be off a couple of years, but one every 2 years or so, there is a homegrown player coming into that. And again, how much is that saving the club? You look at Iwobi, he must have made over 100 appearances for Arsenal. He won the FA Cup, and he's been sold on for a profit. That's the dream. That's the reason we're out here scouting and doing these coaching sessions and things to they blood through. So that's one point ticked. Again, just to focus on Iwobi, because he's the best example for this. He's been sold on for profit eventually, which might not be, but could be directed back into the academy. Like I said at a point, you heard Arsenal directly invested 40 million, I guess, in regards to education and new equipment and buildings probably, and they know what they did in it. I don't know what Arsenal did at Hale End, but all of that sort of stuff. And Iwobi's gone for 35, 40 million. Amici's gone for 2.5 million. You near enough it's paying for itself. Amici hasn't played for the first team, which I'm gutted about, but do you get what I'm saying? So we are developing. The only thing I think that really sucks for me is that I feel every academy is losing players through no fault of their own. Again, what I love is these young players, they're not just getting gassed off playing Arsenal and playing for Arsenal, Chelsea, United and whatever. They're seeing, am I getting chances? Is there a pathway? And you're seeing they're going, and there's not a country an English player isn't probably at now in Europe. So we're losing players. We've obviously lost Okaflex 1 year to Celtic, and he's doing his thing, and I hope he develops. We lost Ovi that went to Liverpool, and I don't know if it's true, but I swear I saw on Twitter that he's been sold to Reading. So that could have potentially been some piece for us, which isn't ours, people. And Liverpool keep stealing a couple from us, really, year on, year out. You see Musa's gone to Valencia as well, people, which I'm gutted about personally, because him and Aziz, they were looking cold last season as schoolboys getting look-ins to the first team. It is what it is in that regards. We're going to keep losing players, we're going to keep taking players off other people. It is what it is, people. But in short, I think it's working. There's no way in hell you can't say Arsenal's academy isn't working. Saying, if you was to talk about the foreign players that have been brought in, the Jeffs, the Benassias, the Marlons, who's been called up to Holland's squad people, which I'm ecstatic about, and the other sort of foreign recruits, that's another debate, people. Obviously, a couple English players have slipped through the net. Who knows how good Josh De Silva at Brentford will develop in, and if he keeps playing for Brentford, could he potentially get a move if they don't get promoted? If so, what? Could it be a 10, 15 million, to which are we gonna get some piece from that? Probably not, because I swear he left for free. I could be wrong, people. So we'll see, man. We'll see how it goes, man. We'll see. But in short, I think the academy's working. I don't think you can say Hale End specifically, and obviously London Coley when they get scholars. There's no way in hell it's not working. It clearly is working. On that note, though, people, I'm going to get out of here. I don't think I've got anything more to say. So, people, Deluded, thank you. That's the first of many vids, and I'm about to record some more, people. I'm warmed up, so let's go. I'm out.